Okay, so today we are diving into something pretty fascinating, like where artificial intelligence and religion kind of meet.
Hmm.
We're going to be looking at Quantum Faith Chronicles, where AI meets religion
Oh, interesting.
by Vanessa Taylor.
Okay.
And she has like all these really interesting thoughts about the future of faith, with tech kind of taking over everything.
Yeah.
And like what really stuck out to me reading this book is that she doesn't just see AI as like a tool for religion,
Hmm.
but like as this thing that could totally reshape how we think about spirituality.
Yeah. It's a pretty big claim.
Like that's a big deal.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
She's not afraid to ask those really big questions, the kind that maybe make some people uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how could AI change what we think about God or even the soul?
Right.
Or could AI, become something people actually worship?
Whoa, AI as like a god.
Yeah,
That's kind of wild to think about.
it is.
Okay, but before we like get too far into that, can you give us a little background on Vanessa Taylor? Like
Yeah.
why is her take on this so interesting?
Well, Taylor's a Christian podcaster,
Yeah.
and she's got a huge global audience.
Right?
She's been talking about faith and tech for a while now, and it seems like this book, Quantum Faith Chronicles, it's like all of her thinking about this topic just like came together.
Mm-hmm.
She lays out these two main ways of thinking about it.
Okay.
She calls them the digital prophets and the divine algorithms.
Okay, just the names. I can already tell these are totally different views.
Oh yeah, they definitely have some pretty different ideas about AI's impact on religion.
All right, let's start with these digital prophets then.
Uh,
Who are they and what's their whole vision for AI and faith?
Basically, the digital prophets are like the ultimate techno-optimists.
Okay.
They believe that AI is the next step in like human evolution.
Mm.
It's something that can help us overcome our, limitations as humans and reach a whole new level of consciousness. They don't see AI as a threat to religion at all.
Mm.
It's like a way to like make it better.
So like they think AI could help us have deeper spiritual experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe even ways of reaching the divine that we can't even imagine right now.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Taylor actually gives some really interesting examples in the book.
Okay.
Like the digital prophets believe AI could create these super personalized religious experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine like an AI that can design a prayer ritual just for you
Yeah.
based on your specific spiritual needs,
Mm.
or even generate like a virtual pilgrimage experience that's completely tailored to your beliefs.
Oh, wow.
They even talk about AI maybe helping us achieve like a kind of digital
It's
immortality.
digital immortality.
Yeah, where your consciousness gets uploaded into a virtual world.
Whoa, that's getting really out there.
It is.
I bet some people would find those ideas, I don't know, kind of unsettling, even like against the religion.
Absolutely. And that's where the divine algorithms come in.
Okay, so the opposite view.
Yeah, they have a totally different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Much more cautious, even a little afraid of how AI could impact religion.
So let's get into their concerns then.
Okay.
Why are the divine algorithms so wary of AI? Is it just like a general fear of technology?
It's deeper than that.
Okay.
They're worried that AI could lead to us losing our values and morals.
Mm.
Like if we rely on AI too much for spiritual guidance, or even just making decisions, we might forget how to think for ourselves.
Mm.
And that free will, that ability to choose, is super important to real faith.
So they're not necessarily anti-technology. They just don't want AI to like mess with our ability to choose.
Exactly. Taylor also points out, the divine algorithms worry that AI could become a kind of false idol.
A false idol.
Yeah, like something that distracts us from a real spiritual connection. We end up worshiping tech instead of, the divine.
Yeah.
And they see AI as a possible threat to the authority of, religious texts and traditions. Like AI could be used to twist the meaning of those texts, or even just straight up challenge long-held beliefs.
Yeah, that's a point that would definitely hit home for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
especially folks who see their faith as rooted in tradition and scripture.
Right.
And like this tension between the digital prophets and divine algorithms, it's not just some intellectual debate.
Yeah,
It touches on some really big questions about what it means to be human,
definitely.
how we relate to something bigger than ourselves in a world that's constantly changing.
Absolutely. And this is where Taylor's work gets really interesting.
Okay.
It's not just about presenting these two sides.
Mm-hmm.
She challenges her readers to actually think critically about AI,
Hmm.
to weigh the potential benefits against the risks,
Okay.
and to get involved in shaping how this technology is going to impact our religious and spiritual lives.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the hype or even the fear around AI,
Right.
but we can't just sit back and let tech decide the future of faith. So, where does Taylor herself stand in all of this?
Well, that's the fascinating part.
Okay.
She doesn't really pick a side.
Hmm.
She doesn't say either the digital prophets or the divine algorithms have all the answers.
So, what's she saying then?
I think she's saying that the future of faith in this tech-driven world, it's still being written,
Mm-hmm.
and it's up to us to decide what role AI is going to play.
So, it's less about finding the right answer and more about asking the right questions.
Exactly.
Okay.
She wants her readers to really think about the implications
Hmm.
of AI, not just for religion, but for humanity as a whole.
It sounds like Faith Chronicles is more than just a book about AI and religion then. It's like a call to action.
It is.
She's telling readers to get involved, to help shape the future of faith in this crazy, fast-changing world.
Exactly. And to really understand where Taylor's coming from, we need to explore another important concept she brings up,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
the quantum nexus.
Quantum nexus. Okay, now you've got me hooked. Tell me more about this quantum nexus.
Right.
What is it, and why is it so important to Taylor's whole argument?
So the quantum nexus is it's this really fascinating concept that Taylor introduces towards the end of the book.
Okay.
It's like this meeting point between science and faith,
Hmm.
where quantum physics and like spirituality kind of intersect.
Okay, I gotta admit, quantum nexus sounds a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Does the book get super technical at this point?
Not really. Taylor's really good at explaining complicated stuff in a way that makes sense.
Okay, good.
What she's getting at with the quantum nexus is like there might be this deeper level of reality that we're only just starting to understand through quantum physics.
Okay.
And like in this level of reality, the lines between the material world and the spiritual world, they kind of get blurry.
So the quantum nexus isn't like an actual place then,
Right.
more like a metaphorical space where science and faith could come together.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And to show this, Taylor introduces this character,
Oh.
Dr. Evelyn Sinclair. She's this brilliant physicist, but also, like, she's described as a reluctant believer.
A physicist is a reluctant believer. That's interesting.
Yeah, right. She's been studying this ancient manuscript, and she figures out this cryptic equation that seems to be the key to understanding this whole quantum nexus thing.
Hold on. So she's a scientist, but she also believes in, like, faith?
Yeah, it's like she's bridging the gap between those two worlds.
Hmm.
She's not totally committed to either side, but she's open to both perspectives.
Okay.
And through her research, it seems like she's finding evidence that the universe is way more mysterious and connected than we realize.
So is Taylor suggesting that science and religion, which we usually see as totally separate, could actually work together?
Yeah, that's one of the key takeaways from the book.
Mm.
Taylor doesn't see science and faith as being at odds.
Okay.
In fact, she says by embracing both, we can get a more complete and nuanced understanding of ourselves and the universe.
This whole quantum nexus idea where science and faith meet, it brings up so many questions. Does Taylor actually explain what this equation unlocks?
That's the thing.
Okay.
Does it reveal some big truth about the universe
Mm-hmm.
or about God? Well, that's the cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger.
She leaves us hanging in Volume 1. We're left wondering what Dr. Sinclair's discovery actually means. But I think the point is, the journey of figuring things out is just as important as the destination.
Hmm.
You know, she's encouraging us to wrestle with these big questions ourselves,
Okay.
to be okay with the mystery and the unknown.
It's like she's showing us this huge uncharted territory and saying, go explore.
Yeah,
I can see how that would be exciting, but also a little scary, especially when we're talking about something as personal as faith.
definitely. And that's what makes this whole conversation about AI and religion so interesting.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about ideas. We're talking about things that could completely change how we live, how we see the world, and how we connect with something bigger than ourselves.
We've talked a lot about the digital prophets and the divine algorithms, those two opposing views on AI and faith.
Mm-hmm.
But where does Vanessa Taylor actually land?
Right.
Does she give us any advice on how to navigate all of this?
She does, and that's what's so valuable about her work.
Okay, I like that. So she doesn't just lay out the problem, she tries to offer solutions.
Exactly. And her approach boils down to this idea of balance.
Balance. What does that mean when we're talking about AI and religion?
Well, she says we need to find a way to include AI in our religious lives in a way that helps our spirituality without, losing our humanity. She warns against both extremes, like blindly accepting AI as a savior or completely rejecting it as a threat.
So it's not about choosing one or the other, it's about finding a way for tech and faith to work together.
Exactly. Taylor believes AI can be a powerful tool for spiritual growth,
Okay.
but only if we use it wisely and with intention.
That makes sense. It's like any powerful tool, right? It can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to decide how we use it. But how do we even start to find that balance? It's easy to say we need to be careful and intentional, but what does that actually look like?
That's where Taylor's book is really helpful.
Okay, good.
She gives us some concrete ideas for how people and religious communities can engage with AI in a responsible and meaningful way.
That's what I was hoping for. Can you give us some examples? What are some practical steps Taylor recommends for finding that balance between AI and faith?
One of the main things she says is to educate ourselves about AI.
Hmm.
Learn about what it can do, what it can't do, and how it works.
Okay.
She stresses how important it is to understand how these AI systems work, what biases they might have, and how they can be used, for good or bad.
Yeah, you can't really have a meaningful conversation about AI if you don't even understand the basics of how it works.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to technology.
Sure.
Taylor also encourages us to have these open and honest conversations within our religious communities about the ethical side of AI. By talking about it, we can start to come up with some shared guidelines for how to use AI in a way that fits with our values.
I like that she emphasizes community and conversation. It's not something we have to figure out on our own.
Right.
We can learn from each other, talk about our concerns, and work together to create a future where AI actually helps our spiritual well-being.
Absolutely. And Taylor also points out how important it is to use AI in a way that helps humans flourish. She believes that AI should make our lives better, not replace us or make us feel less than.
So like using AI to make those personalized prayer rituals or virtual pilgrimage experiences, that could be a good use of AI in religion as long as it's done in a way that respects people and their freedom to choose.
Exactly. It's about using AI to deepen our spiritual connection,
Okay.
not to create a fake version of faith or replace real human connection.
Makes sense. But I wonder, are religious communities actually listening to these ideas?
Right.
Are people having these conversations and doing something about it?
That's a good question, and Taylor actually talks about it in the book.
Okay.
She knows that there are a lot of different views on AI within religious communities.
Right.
Not everyone's ready to accept these ideas.
Yeah, change can be hard, especially when it comes to something as personal as faith.
Definitely. But Taylor seems to be hopeful that we can find a way forward. She thinks that if we approach AI with curiosity, compassion, and a willingness to talk about it, we can shape a future where technology and faith can exist together and even support each other.
I like that. It's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
This has been a really insightful conversation.
Yeah, it has.
We've covered a lot, from the potential of AI to the idea of a quantum nexus where science and faith could meet. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that cliffhanger ending of Quantum Faith Chronicles, Volume 1.
Oh, yeah.
What actually happens? We've danced around it, but I need to know.
Well, in the last chapter, Dr. Sinclair's right on the edge of figuring out the code, understanding what the quantum nexus really means. But just as she's about to have a breakthrough, the manuscript she's been studying, it disappears.
What? No. Seriously.
Yep. Leaving her and us with more questions than answers.
Classic cliffhanger.
I know, right?
I guess we'll have to wait for Volume 2 to find out what happens next.
It seems that way. But even without a clear resolution, Kaylor's given us a lot to think about.
Yeah, she has. Quantum Faith Chronicles has definitely made me rethink my own assumptions about AI and faith. And it's left me feeling this sense of wonder and possibility. It's clear that things are changing faster than ever, and the choices we make now will have a big impact on the future of religion and humanity as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think Taylor's book reminds us that we all have a part to play in shaping that future. It doesn't matter if we agree with the digital prophets, the divine algorithms, or somewhere in between.
Right.
We need to be part of this conversation, to think critically and intentionally about AI.
Well said. And on that note, I think we need a short break to let all this sink in.
Good idea.
We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into Quantum Faith Chronicles, Where AI Meets Religion by Vanessa Taylor.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Quantum Faith Chronicles.
So, we left off on that cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Sinclair and that missing manuscript. It's like Taylor wanted to keep us in suspense.
Yeah, she definitely knows how to leave us wanting more.
But I think even without knowing, the whole answer, she's giving us a ton to think about in terms of AI and faith.
Absolutely. And I think that mystery, around the quantum nexus, it's not just there for the plot.
Right.
It's like a metaphor for these bigger questions that Taylor's asking. We're moving into this time where the lines between science, technology, and spirituality are getting blurrier and blurrier.
Yeah.
And like Dr. Sinclair, we're on this journey of discovery too, trying to make sense of a world that's changing so fast.
It's a good analogy, and it shows how important it is to stay curious and open-minded as we figure out this new territory. It's easy to get scared or skeptical when we're talking about something as powerful as AI, especially when it could impact something as personal as our faith.
Right, right.
But Taylor's book reminds us that there's also a sense of wonder and possibility here.
Definitely. And she also emphasizes that we don't have to go through this alone.
Okay.
She talks a lot about dialogue within our own faith communities and with people of other faiths. She sees a future where people of different religions can come together, share their thoughts on AI, and learn from each other.
I like that.
She even thinks AI itself could help with those conversations.
Really?
Acting as a kind of bridge between different cultures and belief systems.
AI helping with interfaith dialogue. That's interesting. It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
AI is already used to translate languages and connect people across the world. Could it help us bridge those theological gaps, too? Could it help us find common ground between different faiths?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
And it shows Taylor's optimism. Her belief that even with all this rapid change, we can still connect with each other, build community, and deepen our understanding of the divine.
Yeah, I appreciate that Taylor doesn't ignore the challenges, but she also offers this vision of hope, a reminder that we can actually shape the future of AI and how it affects our spiritual lives.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Quantum Faith Chronicles, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
And I want our listeners to think about this too.
All right.
If AI could give you personalized spiritual guidance, connect you with believers all over the world, or even help you explore different religions, would you be open to it? Or would you see it as a threat to your faith?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I don't think there's one right answer.
Right.
It comes down to each person's beliefs, values, and experiences.
Yeah.
But what I take away from Taylor's book is that we need to approach these questions with curiosity, humility, and a willingness to really talk about it.
Absolutely.
The future of faith in this world of AI, it's not set in stone. We're creating it right now through the choices we make and the conversations we have.
Well said. Quantum Faith Chronicles has given us so much to think about, and this is definitely a conversation that will continue. I want to thank you for joining me on this deep dive, and I encourage all our listeners to keep exploring this fascinating and ever-changing intersection of AI and religion. Thanks for tuning in.